James Abbott McNeill Whistler. B. Lowell, Massachusetts, 1834. B. London, 1903. A stylish American-born painter, designer, printmaker, and wit, Whistler was a central figure in the aesthetic movement. He was known for his paintings of nighttime London, his stylistic, full-length portraits, and his superb etchings. His combative nature and dandyish ways also kept him in the public eye. Whistler spent his life as an expatriate, living mainly in London, although he also worked in France. Rejecting the artistic conventions of the time, he maintained that subject matter was secondary to evoking mood and creating harmonies of color and composition. Likening his paintings to visual music, he gave them titles such as symphonies or nocturnes. Although he was a contemporary of the Impressionists, Whistler developed an individual style that combined French realism, Japanese decorative influences, and aestheticism. During his final 2 decades, Whistler achieved recognition as an artist of international importance. He was also influential in introducing modern ideas into British art. Lifeline. 1834 born in Lowell, 1854–55 expelled from the West Point Military Academy. Learns etching as a Navy cartographer, 1855–58 studies art in Paris. Produces the French set etchings, 1859 moves to London, 1874 first solo exhibition at the Flemish Gallery, London, 1879–80 is bankrupted by a libel suit. Travels to Venice, 1886 elected president of the Society of British Artists, 1903 dies at home in London. Red and Black. The fan/his painting of Whistler's stylishly dressed sister-in-law reveals his interest in women's fashions. He skillfully depicts the fan's gauze fabric. 1891–94, oil on canvas, 187 by 90 centimeters, Hunterian Art Gallery, Glasgow, UK. Nocturne in black and gold, the falling rocket fireworks were considered inappropriate for a painting and this work proved controversial. Savaged by the critic John Ruskin, Whistler sued for libel, but was awarded derisory damages and bankrupted. C. 1875, oil on panel, 60 by 47 centimeters, Detroit Institute of Arts, U.S. Closer look. Abstract colors. This strongly impressionistic work is an example of Whistler's philosophy of art for art's sake. The abstract drift of orange and yellow lights reflects Japanese delicacy and helps to convey the ephemeral quality of the fireworks. Symphony in white. No, this painting is a harmonious blend of color, shapes, and composition. Translucent paint layering and delicate brushstrokes add to the mood. 1865–67, oil on canvas, 51 by 77 centimeters, the Barber Institute of Fine Arts, Birmingham, UK. Valentin Serov. B.St. Petersburg, 1865, D. Moscow, 1911. Although virtually unknown outside his native country, Valentin Serov was the leading Russian portrait painter of his time, gifted at achieving a revealing insight into the character of his sitter. His best work ranks among the cream of Russian realist art. Serov studied at the St. Petersburg Academy. From 1890 onwards, he concentrated primarily on painting portraits, producing a stunning record of the most prominent people in Russian society, business, government, and the arts. He undertook numerous important commissions, including a portrait of Grand Duke Pavel Alexandrovich, 1897. At the turn of the century, Serov's style changed. Impressionistic elements in his work were replaced by a modernistic approach, although he remained committed to conveying the truth and realism of his subject matter. During his later years, Serov painted a number of landscapes and also worked on classical mythology themes. Girl with Peaches. Serov's luminous, impressionistic portrait of Vera Mamontova, his debut work, is probably his best-known painting, and heralds the impending move from realism to modernism. 1887, oil on canvas, 91 by 85 centimeters, Tretyakov Gallery, Moscow, Russia. Santiago Rusinol. B. Barcelona, 1861, D. Aranjuez, Spain, 1931. One of the leading figures in Catalan modernism in the late 19th and early 20th century, Santiago Rusinol was an outstanding Spanish painter and writer. He was based mainly in Barcelona, but lived in Paris when Impressionism was coming to the fore, which influenced his use of light and color. Rusinol introduced symbolism and other modern French influences to Spain. Although he was an acute observer of nature, Rusinol believed that painting was a vehicle for conveying emotion, rather than a medium that reflected reality. During his lifetime, he was an eminent art collector, and his home at Sitges, near Barcelona, is now a museum. The Blue Patio. This is one of a number of patio pictures that Rusinol painted in the coastal town of Sitges. The light palette and mundane subject matter pay homage to the work of the Impressionists. 1892, oil on canvas, 68 by 53 centimeters, Abadia de Montserrat, Barcelona, Spain. John Lavery. B. Belfast, 1856, D. Kilmagany, 1941. An Irish-born painter best known for his dashing portraits, John Lavery also painted interiors, landscapes, and outdoor life. After studying in Glasgow, London, and Paris, he was based mainly in Glasgow between 1885 and 1896, then eventually settled in London. Lavery traveled widely, spending the winters in Morocco, where he owned a house. Despite a glittering career, Lavery evidently regretted playing it safe. He wrote in his autobiography, "Have felt ashamed of having spent my life trying to please sitters, instead of telling the truth." Anna Pavlova. Lavery produced two versions of the famous Russian ballerina rehearsing dance Bacchanal. This dramatic and expressive work challenged portrait conventions of the day. 1911, oil on canvas, 198 by 145 centimeters, Art Gallery and Museum, Kelvingrove, Glasgow, UK. John Singer Sargent. B. Florence, 1856, D. London, 1925. One of the most celebrated and financially successful artists of his era, John Singer Sargent made his mark as a society painter. An outstanding portraitist, he brilliantly conveyed the opulence of his subjects' lifestyles, although he was sometimes criticized for superficial characterization. He also painted impressionistic landscape watercolors and urban scenes. An American who lived in Europe, Sargent was a supporter of the avant-garde and admired Monet, Manet, and other contemporaries. He was also noted for his portrayal of the modern woman, at a time when women were asserting their independence and fighting for equality. His radical portrait of Mr. and Mrs. Ian Phelps Stokes, 1897, suggests that Mrs. Stokes was the dominant partner. Lifeline. 1856, born in Florence, 1874–76, studies in Paris. 1884, his erotic portrayal of Madame X causes a scandal. 1886, moves to London. 1887, first trip to the U.S., where he becomes the society portraitist of choice. 1892, is established as the most fashionable portraitist in London. 1907, announces he is giving up portraits to concentrate on landscapes and murals. 1916–25, produces an important mural for the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. 1925, dies in London. The Sidwell family. Sargent has brought a Baroque grandeur, reminiscent of Velázquez, to this portrait of English aristocracy at home. He skillfully projects an image of the dominant patriarch, dutiful, beautiful wife, and obedient children, surrounded by family heirlooms. 1900, oil on canvas, 170 by 193 centimeters, private collection. Portrait of Catherine Chase Shapley. This impressionistic portrait was painted in the United States. The cool white tones of Shapley's dress and flowers and the luminosity of her skin contrast with the dark background. Sargent's delicate handling of light and skin tones are superb. 1890, oil on canvas, 102 by 77 centimeters, Worcester Art Museum, Massachusetts, U.S.